So this is my first Read It or Unhaul vlog, or Read It or Unhaul episode 1 is what I'm going to be calling it. These are the 6 books that are on my winter TBR that are my Read It or Unhaul books. If you didn't see my winter TBR, I did set a goal this year to declutter my shelves of unread books because I think I just have a little bit too many unread books. It's not that bad, but I think a good rule of thumb is like an 80-20, 80% books that I have read, know I love, and could see myself rereading in the future, and then 20% books that I want to love. And right now I'm closer to a 60-40. So I want to get that 40% down to 20%. I'm not one of those people that want to get down to TBR 0. I like having possibilities in my future. So I will be continuing these reading vlogs until we get to that 20% mark, which don't think is going to happen this year because 20% is like 200 books, which is a lot, and I have bought some books since I made that last count. But the point of this challenge is that I would pick one book per shelf per season, and then an extra fantasy book per season to read it or have to unhaul it. And the reason why the extra fantasy book is because the majority of my books are fantasy books, and I just have a ginormous backlog of like these mass market paperbacks that I bought like way back in the day that are books that I think I'll end up loving, but I just will never get to them if I'm always looking at the new books that are coming out instead. For this episode 1, I have already read one of these books in the year so far. In future TBRs, I think it's going to end up being 8 books, but because winter is only 2 months for me, only 6. Whereas the other seasons, they're all going to be 3 months long, so I can do 8 books in 3 months a lot easier. As of right now, the only book from these that I've already read is Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. I love Jane Austen. I knew I wasn't going to unhaul this anyway, so I figured might as well just get it out of the way before starting this vlog. And I really enjoyed Jane Austen's writing style. I wish she wrote more books so that I would have more to read from her, but alas, I only have 1 left. But I did enjoy this. I liked Fanny Price a lot, but I didn't like the overall story, like where it went, like the plot of it. So not my favorite Jane Austen, but still enjoyed it, and I gave this one 3.5 stars. So the other 5 books, I've already started one of them, and that's Miss Peregrin's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom. About 30% into it now. I'm listening to the audiobook because I had to drive, and it was the only audiobook of the ones that I had so far. I didn't realize that this is illustrated in like a creepy way. Why is it like that? Is it supposed to be scary? It doesn't feel scary. Like, I'm reading it. It does not feel scary, but the pictures are kind of scary. Anyways, I'm enjoying this a lot. I understand why so many people like this. I feel like I immediately attached on to this main character, Jacob. His name is Jacob, but his grandfather calls him Jakob at the beginning. So like that threw me off a little bit because I'm listening to the audiobook, obviously, and I love his grandfather too. So like I got pulled into the story immediately, and I'm really enjoying this. As of right now, I don't anticipate this being an unhaul, but we'll see how it goes. I do believe this is middle grade. The main character reads a little bit older than middle grade to me. Like, he reads almost like a high schooler, so I'm not sure, but I think this is meant to be middle grade, and I'm enjoying it so far. Yeah, I don't like the pictures. I'm sorry. I'm glad I'm reading the audiobook. I'm glad I'm listening to the audiobook because I really don't like the pictures. I am glad that I have the pictures in case I want to go watch them. That's the reason why I picked up the physical book originally, because people recommended having the physical book because of the pictures. I had kind of forgotten that. I'm remembering now that's why I ended up picking up the physical book, but I'm kind of glad that I'm not watching the illustrations because I don't like them. I don't like them at all. Okay, that one's nice. I like this one. I don't know what any of these illustrations mean because, like I said, not super far into it, but enjoying it so far. Now I have to start a physical book, and I have some choices. The one that I want to start is this one, The Empire's Ghost. Now, the reason why I want to start this one is because of the vibes. Right now, it is really cold, and it's been cold for about a week now, and I feel like it's gonna get warm soon. Like, in the next couple of weeks, it's probably gonna start warming up again. While we're in the middle of these wintry vibes, I feel like this book would fit those vibes a lot. So this is the book that I'm gonna start today, and we'll see how it goes. This is also a series that I've been wanting to read for a while. I had picked up the series like way back in the day, and then just didn't continue on. Like, I read like the first chapter or something, like not a whole lot, but like I want to get back to it. It was back when I was like trying to pick up more high fantasy written by women, and not like romantasy high fantasy, but like actually fantasy books, and that's why I decided to pick this one up. And I enjoyed what I read of it. Like, I did. I just got distracted by other books that were like newer and shinier that maybe I wouldn't even have liked as much as this book. book, but because they were newer and a lot of people were talking about, I got sucked into the hype. But I need to get back to reading the books that I want to read. This is one of those, so I'm gonna get to it. So this is the one that I'm gonna pick up tonight, and we'll see how it goes. So that leaves 3 more books for the February vlog. I do think I'm gonna pick up one of these before the end of this vlog, but I don't know if I'll finish it. Just because I've already read Mansfield Park, I think it makes sense for me to pick up another one of these books before the end of January. I haven't decided which yet though. Depends on how I'm feeling. Probably not the Golden Key though, just because it's so long. I think that's probably gonna be a February one for me. I'm definitely putting that one off. So I'm about 40% into Miss Peregrin's Home for Peculiar Children now, and we finally got some magic. It really took this book a long time to get into it. And mind you, I was enjoying this book quite a bit without any magic, which is a testament because I don't like middle grade contemporary. I don't like YA contemporary. I don't remember if this is supposed to be middle grade or YA. It still feels a little bit more YA to me, but I don't know. Either way, the magic that it has, at least the part that I've seen, is a trope or a type of magic or a type of book or whatever you want to say that I am very partial to. So I'm so excited about this. The fact that I was enjoying this so much before we got to it, and now we get to a part that I specifically would absolutely love, I think there's a really good chance that this could end up being a new favorite for me, and I'm so excited about it. So I'm very close to finishing the audiobook for Miss Peregrin's Home for Peculiar Children. While I was enjoying it a lot more when I first started, I feel like the longer I read this book, the less interested in it I am. Not because it's not good, I think it's well written, I think it's a good story and all of that. There's some little bit of creepiness there that gives it almost like a horror vibe, which I think if you're reading the physical book with some of these pictures and stuff, see if I can find, there's some in the beginning that are super creepy. I'm just do you see this? I feel like this is just the type of book that I've kind of grown out of. Because of that, I don't know how far I want to continue on with this book. I think because I'm so close to the end, I probably will finish the book. I don't know if I'm going to keep it though, or if I even plan to continue on with the rest of the series. It'll really depend on the ending and how I feel about the ending, because I don't know what's going to happen yet. So after that, I do have a long drive today. I think I'm going to need to start a new audiobook on the drive. So for my Read It or Unhaul books, I have 2 options. So I do have access to the audiobook for An Ember and the Ashes from my library is an option. It's not one that I like though, because the reason why I bought the physical book in the first place was because I did not like the audiobook, and I have been trying to prioritize my physical reading time for fantasy, really more for adult fantasy, not for YA. I'm not really that interested in YA, but I've heard really good things about this one recently, and I do want to try and read this one physically. Even though I have access to the audiobook for this one, I want to try and read this one physically first, maybe next weekend or the weekend afterward, potentially. So I got the audiobook for Contact by Carl Sagan. Obviously, I have the physical book, so I might switch between the two a little bit. I may not. I haven't decided yet. I do think the reason why I'm so adamant on the audiobook for this one, because for sci-fi, I generally do listen to the audiobooks. I generally don't read the physical books, and I have pretty limited time to read physical books, whereas with audiobooks, I can read a ton of audiobooks in a week and not have an issue. So that's why I decided to get the audiobook for this one. So as of right now, when I finish Miss Peregrin's Home for Peculiar Children, my plan is to start Contact by Carl Sagan, which is not what I originally planned to do, but it's where we are right now, because every time I go to look Contact again, I dread picking up the physical book just because I have so many other physical books that I want to read right now. So we'll see if I end up liking this. I did listen to a few minutes of the audiobook just to see if I liked the audiobook, and so far I see nothing wrong with it. So I'm excited to see how I'll feel about this. Also, I did start The Empire's Ghost by Isabelle Steiger. I've only read the prologue so far, but I'm really, really liking this book so far. It has a ton of characters right away, so if you don't like that, maybe not the best book for you, but I do like that. I personally do. I think the characters are well developed, even in the short little scenes that I read. So I'm enjoying this. It promises to be very politically driven just based off of what's going on so far. There's an assassin involved, there's a princess from another kingdom, and then there's a band of thieves. I just like all of this so far, so I'm really excited for this. It is going to be freezing this week, so it is absolutely the perfect time for this. And this is another part of the reason why I don't want to have another physical book, because I'm so excited for this, along with other new releases and other books that I'm reading right now, that I just want to prioritize the ones I'm more excited for as physical books. Alrighty, so I finished Miss Peregrin's Home for Peculiar Children. I enjoyed it. I don't think the ending was crazy or anything like that, so I gave it 3.5 stars. And then I did pick up the audiobook for Contact by Carl Sagan. I haven't gotten super far into this yet, but it's very different than I expected. It's following a girl who, like, when she's young, like, she seems very math oriented. So she's like the only woman in her like physics and like, I don't know if it's like engineering, but those types of classes. But I really like the way her mind worked, because when she was younger, she was talking about like pi and how pi works and like things like that. And I found it quite interesting. Like I said, not super far into it, but so far I am enjoying this. Did make a lot of progress on Contact by Carl Sagan. I'm about 30% of the way into it now. Really enjoying it. I am surprised actually how much I'm enjoying this, but okay, I'm gonna say it. Contact obviously is a first contact with aliens type of novel, and what it is like our main character is a radio astronomer. I think they're like measuring radio waves from outer space and stuff like that to see if there are any aliens out there. So they get a radio wave, which is prime numbers, but then there are messages underneath the transmission, and the first one they encode or decode, I guess, is a video clip of Hitler, which is just the funniest thing that somehow aliens picked up on a television transmission. The very first one apparently that went out was of Hitler in the Olympic Games. So just think about what the political implications of that would be if like some distant beings or being is sending us messages about Hitler. Like, just think about that. It's so fascinating, and I'm really enjoying it so far. So I was finally able to make some progress on The Empire's Ghost by Isabelle Steiger. I read the first 3 chapters, so I'm right about there now. Even more characters were introduced since the prologue, so like there's even more characters, but I'm like okay with it. I'm enjoying the characters quite a bit, and like I said, each character is so individual. So I'm excited to get into the actual plot of the story, because I haven't gotten into like real plot yet, but I like getting to know the characters so far. And like I said, it's okay for me, for books that I think could potentially be favorites of mine, for it to be a little bit slower start or to be a little bit more slow burn, because if I get to love the characters, then I can just stay with them for as long as possible, and I don't necessarily need it to have a whole ton of plot, but I do need a little bit. So I'm hoping the next few chapters do have a bit more plot in it. Also, I'm about 35% into Contact by Carl Sagan now. Oh my gosh, I am loving this so much. It's way more political than I was expecting it to be. I don't know why I didn't expect it to be political. I really didn't know what to expect going into this book, but like when I first started reading it, I thought it was gonna be somewhat naive, just because the main character did read kind of younger, and she read a little bit naive, at least compared to like when I read like a book like The Dark Forest by Cixin Liu. Like the way aliens and extraterrestrials are portrayed there is in more of a, I guess, a scary way, whereas here we assume that the extraterrestrials are going to be friendly potentially, or at least sufficiently advanced that they would be friendly and not warlike. But I don't know about this one. We still don't know hardly anything about this first contact. I'm excited to find out about it. So far, we've been stuck on Earth, and I don't know that we're ever gonna get off of Earth, but despite that, it has been quite intriguing even so. So I'm about 60% of the way into Contact now. It has slowed down quite a bit. This feels a lot more like world building for like the future than it is like story. I mean, there was one thing that happened that was really like explosive, but other than that, there's not that much happening right now. Like I said, it's a lot of world building, and I'm a fantasy reader, so I like world building as much as the next person, but I do want the plot to actually pick up again. I'm actually really glad that I decided to pick this one up on audio, because I am enjoying the audio a lot, but I feel like if I did read the physical book, I probably would have DNF'd it at this point, just because I need to prioritize my physical reading time so much, and this is definitely a much slower read than I typically go into. I have also made quite a bit of progress on The Empire's Ghost. I'm right about there now, so chapter 9. I know it looks like I didn't make any progress, but I did, I swear, I really did. It was like 6 chapters or so. So I have made progress on it. I am enjoying the progress that I've made. Plot has finally started, and I'm really interested in the plot. One character group where it's following like a group of like 4 or 5 characters, but then it also had like single characters in like other places of the world. In the plot section that finally started, we finally get like where some of those characters start connecting, like they start meeting each other, and that part I found incredibly interesting. I'm really excited to see where this goes. I don't know how many updates I'm gonna do on this, because like I think anything more I say past like what I've said so far is gonna go into like spoiler territory. The quest has begun, so I'm excited to see where this goes. So I did finish Contact by Carl Sagan. I enjoyed this so much. This surprised me. In my last update, I think I said a lot of things about it, and it was, let's just put it this way, it was a satisfying climax and the world building. I mentioned there was a lot of world building. The world building, spot on. Loved the world building, but the ending felt very kind of almost open-ended. It reminded me a lot of the ending of I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman, which I read earlier this month. I mean, more hopeful. Obviously, definitely more hopeful because this is a post-apocalyptic novel, but it was just like open and it was like reflective about the future and things like that in a way that like I kind of did not necessarily expect from this novel. Maybe I should have expected it from this novel. It is definitely like still one of those like futuristic kind of sci-fi novels that tries to like understand things about our world from a scientific perspective as opposed to a religious perspective, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of themes and stuff in here that I found incredibly interesting to like dive deep in, but I don't know. It was not my favorite book. I'll have to say that. I do tend to be a little bit more of a plot reader than what this book was, but I liked it for what it was. So I ended up giving it 4.25 stars. On upstairs neighbors, stop being so loud. Do they move furniture around? Literally all day long. I liked it for what it was, so I ended up giving it 4.25 stars. I also have made quite a bit of progress on The Empire's Ghost. I'm right about there now, and I'm enjoying this quite a bit. I will say there's a lot of characters, and the author doesn't seem to lean towards any one character or group of characters at all. So like, I don't know who the author wants me to like. Like, I don't know who the antagonist is. There's kind of an obvious antagonist. Like, it's an obvious one, but he's also kind of one of the most interesting characters in the entire book, but he also doesn't have a point of view narration. Like, there's his advisor has a point of view narration. I'm talking about the king that is like trying to take over this whole continent, basically, which is not a spoiler. Like, that happened basically in the prologue. Like, you find out on like page 1, so not a spoiler, but like, he's the most interesting character to me. But like, I'm okay with not liking him. Like, he's interesting from like a villain perspective, but like all the other characters, I don't know who I'm supposed to like and who I'm not supposed to like, which I like, but I also feel like I'm just kind of choosing who I'm most partial to, and there's a good chance that this author can break my heart because I don't know that all of these characters are necessarily safe, because it feels like derivative of high fantasy, like more modern high fantasy, like books like A Song of Ice and Fire, in the way that a lot of fantasy in the past, like in the 90s and early 2000s, felt derivative of like Lord of the Rings. So I feel like there are gonna be deaths in here that I'm not gonna be okay with. It hasn't happened yet, but we've come close. I don't know where it's going. It is slow paced and very character oriented, but you know what? I am perfectly okay with that. So I'm excited to see where this goes. Looks like maybe about halfway through, not quite halfway through. So hopefully I'll finish this soon, but I do think I want to slow down a little bit on this one, drag it out for like another week or so. So I might decide to start An Ember in the Ashes this weekend because I do want something that I can kind of binge read. And I feel like that one I might be able to binge read more. Alrighty, so I have made progress on The Empire's Ghost. I'm about halfway through it now, like right about there. So I don't have that much left. I am reading this mostly physically, but I did get access to the audiobook. So like, if I'm like really into it and I don't have time, that's where I would potentially switch the audiobook. But I have another audiobook series that I'm reading right now that I'm super into also. So like, I might not touch the audiobook of this at all, but so far I am really enjoying it. Like, the one like kind of gripe that I would have about this book is that like the character arcs, they seem like there'd be like one plot arc that characters in one part of the region are involved with, and it'll completely finish that arc before starting the next plot arc. And I feel like when you have this many characters, you should overlap those arcs a little bit. First plot arc, I think, the like main plot arc was like with the thieves, and then that plot arc kind of ended. It's not like completely ended, but mostly ended. And now I'm in a plot arc that I call like the King's plot arc. But like, when I get point of views from the thieves now, I don't care about their point of views at the moment because I want to get back to the Kings, but we still have point of views from the thieves, if that makes sense. And then there's also one character, his name's Gravis. He's one of the first characters that we're introduced to because he's in the prologue, but I don't understand like why he's in this book, because all of his scenes afterwards, like, he doesn't do anything. It's like he is the reader trying to figure out what's going on the way I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm just like, I could just completely cut him from this book and still enjoy this book as much as I am. But anyways, it's fine. Part of the reason why I don't like his character too is he's kind of sexist and he serves a queen. So it's not my favorite aspect of it. And part of it is because I like the queen better than him. And I just wish the point of views were from her perspective and not his perspective. perspective, but it's okay. Other than that, I am enjoying this quite a bit. As you can tell, I'm kind of getting into it, so I'm really excited to see where this book goes. Also, I kind of want to pick up An Ember in the Ashes. Just because I'm almost done with that one doesn't mean I think I can binge read it. I do think that one I do want to spend more time on. On the other hand, I do have a lot of time this weekend that I potentially want to binge read something, and I feel like An Ember in the Ashes could be what that is. Like, because this is YA fantasy, and I've heard like it's pretty classic YA, so like I feel like it's the type of thing that I could probably binge read pretty quickly, and if I like it, then I'd really enjoy it. And I did borrow the other books in the library for this one. I had planned to do like another reader on haul in February, but I think I'll just do one reader on haul for winter one, and hopefully we'll see I can get at least a significant chunk of this read before the end of this vlog. At least enough that I would know whether I want to unhaul it or not, if that makes sense. So I think it's time for me to talk about whether I'm going to be unhauling any of my reader on haul books. I have made a lot of progress in this challenge in general, so I'm glad that I did. First one, The Golden Key, I'm not going to unhaul this yet. Obviously, I haven't started this one yet, so I'll include it in one of my February vlogs, but since I did start all of the other books and or finish all of the other books, I'm not going to do like a specific reader or unhaul vlog in the month of February, but I'll mention whether I'm unhauling it or not in my February wrap up. Then this morning, I did start An Ember in the Ashes. I immediately am drawn into the story. I am enjoying it so much. There's no way I'm unhauling this book. Even if I end up like not liking the ending or whatever, this is one of those books that I feel like just the amount of world building that I've gotten from like the first 30 pages and how invested I'm in the story already in the first 30 pages, there is no way that this is gonna be an unhaul. Like, I'm even considering buying the next 3 books in the series, even though I have the library books of them, because of how much I loved the first 30 pages of this. So definitely not gonna be an unhaul either. If I do manage to finish this before this vlog goes up, I'll add a clip on what I think about this one as well, but really enjoying this so far. I'm literally, like I said, not super far into it at all, but I'm far enough that I know I'm not gonna unhaul this one. Then we also have The Empire's Ghost, which I'm still currently reading. I did make a little bit of progress on it, like about 4 chapters or so. I'm not gonna finish it before the end of this vlog. Like, if I did finish it before the end of this vlog, I think I would be rushing myself, and I don't want to. Like, I'm only reading like 4 or 5 chapters a night, which is enough for me to enjoy it, but it's not enough to finish it before the end of this vlog. But the amount that I've read of it so far, I already know like this book is absolutely my cup of tea. It's the type of book that I look for when I'm looking for like fantasy books to read. So because I'm enjoying it so much, there's no way I'm unhauling this one either. And I'll definitely be continuing on with this series. Maybe not in February, but probably in spring. This will be one of the series that I choose to continue on with. Then we have the 3 books that I did finish. So first we have Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. I love Jane Austen, but this is probably my least favorite of her books. Even so, it's Jane Austen, and I'm probably going to want to reread this at some point, like physically, because I did listen to the audiobook. I do like to listen to audiobooks first of classics, like just to see how I feel about it before I like dive deeper into it. So like I do think this is one that I could potentially read again, so I wouldn't be unhauling this one. Hopefully I'll like it more the second time around. A lot of times I found I tend to like books more upon reread than the first time around, so I think that's a possibility. So this is one I'll definitely be keeping as well. These 2 though, I was a little bit more skeptical of, because while I did enjoy both of them quite a bit, they're both a little bit outside of what I would typically read, so I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep it or not. I think I ultimately decided that I am gonna unhaul Miss Peregrin's Home for Peculiar Children. Like, I completely understand why people love this series. It is written so well. It's just not a series that I see myself continuing on with. I don't see myself ever rereading this, and I actually did not like most of the illustrations in the book. It's not a book that I ever see myself picking up again or even necessarily recommending to people, so because of that, I'm gonna be unhauling this. But I am gonna keep Contact by Carl Sagan. This book is incredibly interesting in a lot of ways, and while it did make me like step outside of my comfort zone, I ended up enjoying it so much, and like it got me reflective about things that I don't normally think about. So because of that, I am gonna keep it, and I could see myself rereading this in the future. So I did end up finishing An Ember in the Ashes. I enjoyed this so much. I especially liked like the climax. It got to a point where I was just like, I was so scared for some of these characters. It had me on an emotional roller coaster the entire time, which I loved. I will say the actual ending, I don't know how I feel about it, but overall I ended up liking this book so much, so I'm giving it 4.75 stars. We'll see if that changes. Oh, but I absolutely will be continuing on with this series. So that is all I have for you. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books, because I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up to support my channel. I post at least 1 video a week, but I've been posting a ton of bonus videos, so consider subscribing. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.